The situation on the battlefield is developing so rapidly that war correspondents do not have time to update incoming information. The retreat of the armed forces of Ukraine is recorded in almost all directions of the front. At the same time, war correspondents and experts note that the Russian army has not yet entered the phase of a full-scale offensive. Even the Ukrainian telegram channels are horrified to recognize the inevitable catastrophe that will befall the armed forces of Ukraine on the day when the Russian army decides to launch a full-scale offensive along the entire front line, using all its potential and power. Meanwhile, according to reports from the Russian military department as of February 13, Russian troops continue to develop their success in the Donetsk direction of the front. According to the head of the press center of the South Group, Colonel Vadim Astafyev, Russian units were able to take more advantageous positions and lines in the Donetsk direction of the front, and also deliver a crushing blow to enemy manpower in the area of the settlements of Georgiivka, Bogdanovka, and Belogorovka. It is reported that as a result of these clashes, the 79th Airborne Assault and 42nd Mechanized Brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine lost more than 100 soldiers, 2 tanks, and 5 infantry fighting vehicles. American military experts from the Institute for the Study of War were also forced to recognize the successes of Russian troops in the Donetsk direction. These American experts regretfully stated that against the background of positional fighting, Russian troops managed to make significant progress on the Donetsk front and come close to the eastern part of the city of Chasiv Yar. However, American experts, as always, had concealed interesting details of the fighting, as a result of which Russian paratroopers managed to capture powerful strongholds of the armed forces of Ukraine, located between Bogdanovka and the railway line. Moreover, as a result of this fighting, the 214th Elite Battalion of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, UPFOR, surrendered to the Russian paratroopers. This elite battalion of the Armed Forces of Ukraine was created by the U.S. military in 2017. This battalion consisted of the most trained Ukrainian servicemen who had undergone thorough military training in NATO countries. The military training of these Ukrainian soldiers was so high that NATO even sometimes used that battalion during its military exercises as an imaginary enemy. The surrender of the elite battalion of the Armed Forces of Ukraine had the effect of a bombshell in Ukrainian telegram channels. According to them, the motivation of Ukrainian soldiers has decreased so much that even such elite battalions as UPFOR began to surrender. Experts are confident that the surrender of the elite battalion of the Armed Forces of Ukraine will have a negative impact on the rest of the Ukrainian soldiers. Moreover, this fact also dealt a significant blow to the image of not only the new Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, General Sersky, but also President Zelensky. Meanwhile, it became known about the next Russian missile strikes on the places of deployment of personnel of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. So, it became known that on the night of February 13, Russian ballistic missiles destroyed the reserves of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in Selidovo and Kurakhovo. These destroyed reserves of the Ukrainian Armed Forces were preparing to be sent to Avdiivka. According to preliminary data, the missile strikes were carried out by 5 Iskander-M ballistic missiles with cluster warheads. Witnesses claim that the number of victims may exceed 500 people, as the strikes were carried out on a fairly accurate trajectory. Moreover, it is reported that 2 hours after the first missile strike, when other soldiers of the Armed Forces of Ukraine arrived at the site for parsing debris, another strike was inflicted on the same place. As a result, the number of victims doubled. At the moment, the Security Service of Ukraine has blocked all exits from these cities, in the hope of finding the spotters of Russian missiles. Ukrainian telegram channels claim that Kiev will not officially confirm the death of its reserves, as the disclosure of this data will finally destroy the image of the new commander-in-chief, who continues to send the last reserves of the Ukrainian army to Avdiivka. Let me remind you that the day before, Russian ballistic missiles also destroyed the reserves of the armed forces of Ukraine in cities such as Pavlograd and Pokrovsk. Back then, about 300 Ukrainian soldiers were killed.